Kirlian photography began in the late 1930s, founded by Semyon and Valentina Kirlian. Inspired by the works of Nikola Tesla, Kirlian aimed to represent electrical energy fields within a picture. While visiting a Russian hospital with the means of observing patients being treated via high-frequency electrotherapy, Semyon and Valentina both took note of a visible glow that emanated when electrodes came close to touching the patient's skin. Semyon, being an inventor, wondered if he would be able to properly photograph this phenomenon. Having worked with similar equipment, he replaced the glass electrodes with a metal framework in order to take a photograph in visible light. At the small price of severe electrical burns, Semyon managed to take a striking photograph of an apparent discharge around his own hand. Using this trial as a stepping stone, Semyon and Valentina developed and perfected the apparatus for Kirlian photography. Kirlian photography uses plasma as a means to create an image. The closest thing I can compare it to is the effect placing your hand on a plasma globe has, but to a much higher scale. The process involves placing an electrified photographic plate and running a high-voltage electrical current through it. When this happens, a coronal discharge is created in the air around the object, giving it its effect. After the development of their technique, the Kirlians' activity gradually began to gain the attention of the scientific community. It was at this point where the Kirlians unveiled their controversial take on what they interpreted the coronal discharges to be in their photographs. Semyon believed these to be evidence of the supernatural, depicting one's aura, life force, or emotional state of being. One of the more famous demonstrations of this theory was the torn leaf experiment, in which a leaf was photographed using the Kirlian technique shortly after it had been torn. Within the photograph, the torn section of the leaf was shown to be partially or wholly reformed. It is due to the Kirlians' fascination with the auric body that Kirlian photography is often synonymous with aura photography, some even calling it aura Kirlian photography. Aura photography is typically used by spiritual healers. The various shapes, colors, and intensity in the images are said to provide clues to one's overall health and energy levels, indicating diseases, emotional states, and other physiological or psychological conditions. Of course, these controversial practices have been contested and debunked as a result of stochastic electrical ionization processes, which are affected and altered by a variety of differing factors. Nevertheless, with the Kirlians believing Kirlian photography to depict extensions of the self, I found it interesting to mention. Of the artists who use the Kirlian method as a genuine photography technique, I found Robert Beltman and Ted Hebert to be the most talented. On his website, Beltman categorizes his Kirlian photography as energetic photographs, and to me, that's just the perfect way to describe them, bursting with energy. My favorite of his collections are Through the Green Fuse and Black Fuse. The photographs in green fuse are beautifully shot pictures of plant life, with the added coronal discharges giving them an ethereal glow, seemingly showcasing the souls within the plant life, which I feel adds an extra layer of life to the photographs. Black Fuse is pretty much the same, but this time in black and white, which adds more of a dark supernatural feel to the images. Admittedly, I also like it because it reminds me of a photographer I covered previously, Hiroshi Sugimoto, whose photographs I love dearly. I believe Beltman's work is precisely what the Kirlians would have envisioned with their technique if used as a pure photographic method, and for that I find him a master of the craft. With Ted's work, I personally view it as genuine eye candy. I can't really put my finger on what it is, but there's just some aspect of them that just puts me in awe. Realistically, it's most likely due to them appearing really cool. This is all just my subjective thoughts though, and I don't expect people to agree with my opinion on him being an expert in the field. Kirlian photography was able to intrinsically change the way many view photography, albeit through controversial means. Regardless, photography being linked to life itself is intriguing, and I think it should be held in that regard, regardless of believing in the spiritual or not. It is for that to me, the Kirlian method will forever be an important piece in the puzzle that is understanding what photography is truly capable of.